Yeah, we can go for it.
The Seal of Orichalcos is a soul-stealing field spell used by the bad guys of the Waking the Dragons filler arc of the Duel Monsters anime. It made its first appearance on February 18th, 2003 as part of the Duel Monsters episode 145, used by the duelist Gorimo against the Pharaoh. 9 years later, the Orichalcos onslaught finally connected with the TCG, but they were never as threatening IRL as they were on screen. So what's the deal with this archetype and why hasn't it seen much success? Well, for one thing, it's not really accurate to dub the Orichalcos a proper archetype, at the time of script writing anyway. There are only 3 cards, and one of them is only connected through the anime, where it was used by Orichalcos Sorcerer Darts. At this point, you're probably asking, what's really the point of this video then? And I've got 2 answers. 1, people love to click on Duel Monster stuff, so it goes.
True.
And 2, there are tons of Orichalcos cards from the anime that haven't yet been printed, and the ones that have made it to the TCG are imperfect translations of their anime counterparts, kind of like the Egyptian gods. So in this video, we'll talk about what the Seal of Orichalcos and related cards are in the TCG, and how they don't really measure up to their presence from the anime. I'll also go over those as...
I mean, to be fair, the anime version is just straight up broken. Not to mention that this is like one of 3 versions of the Seal of Orichalcos that we got, at least from the show. The show like had Seal of Orichalcos Deuteros and Trimenios or something like that. So this is basically just not even like you said, an archetype, just a bunch of cards. Kind of like how I covered the archetype archive April Fools for Clear World, only for it to suddenly become an archetype all of a sudden by getting support. The power of predicting the future, I guess. Still crazy that actually happened.
Yet unreleased anime cards, and speculate a little bit about how future printings might put the TCG Seal of Orichalcos back on track. We'll start a review of the Orichalcos in the TCG with the big field spell itself, the Seal of Orichalcos. First printed as an ultra rare legendary collection 3, Yugi's World. This collector set contained 3 mega packs and 7 promotional cards. The mega packs offered a wide selection of cards used by Yugimoto and various antagonists to duel him, including Maximilian Pegasus, Yami Bakura, Yami Merrick, Raphael, My Valentine, and Bandit Keith. Did you guys know his last name is Howard? Despite the fact that the Seal of Orichalcos was used as the cover card for these
Bandit
packs,
Howard
you couldn't
Keith?
actually pull this
Bandit
from
Keith
them.
Howard?
Instead, you got your copy of the Seal of Orichalcos as one of the 7 promo cards alongside Dark Necrofear, Guardianatos, 5-headed dragon, and 3 tokens. While the Seal of Orichalcos is on the field, all of your monsters gain 500 attack. And while you control 2 or more attack position monsters, your opponent cannot declare battle against those with the lowest attack. Once per turn, the Seal of Orichalcos can protect itself against destruction, which is good because you can only activate the Seal of Orichalcos once per duel.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you
it has
generally
that
want your
super
copy to
restriction.
stick around. On activation, the Seal of Orichalcos destroys all of your special summon monsters, and while it's in your control, it locks you out of summoning from your extra deck. Overall, these constraints are pretty harsh, and completely rule out use of Seal of Orichalcos in most strategies. Most, but not all. It has historically seen play in some strategies that don't need the extra deck, mostly Monarch and Stun. For Monarchs, continue a spell march Monarchs and return the Monarchs already bar you from the extra deck, and the Seal of Orichalcos is less likely to blow up your own monsters on activation, since Monarchs are all tribute summoned. Of course, Monarchs would receive Domain of the True Monarchs, an archetypal field spell in 2016 structure deck Emperor of Darkness, so that was a major knock to Seal of Orichalcos' niche's viability. Stun decks using cards like Fossil Dinopachycephalo and the Barrier Statues, bar special summons, sometimes also use the Seal of Orichalcos for its battle protection, but this wasn't really widespread enough for me to unpack any further here. Although there are other strategies that don't need the extra deck or special summons, notably Fluenderies, the escalating importance of field spells in modern archetypes really hurts the Seal of Orichalcos' chances of seeing more specialized strategic splashing. For now, its time in the limelight is over. Iconic for a glowing green card, and it didn't really do much when it had the chance anyway. Orichalcos Shinoros is a level 10 dark machine with question mark attack and 0 defense that was released as a common with 2011's Gold Series 4 Pyramids Edition. Unlike the Seal of Orichalcos, which had some, if few, strategic applications, Orichalcos Shinoros saw basically no play. And let's look at why. It gains 1,000 attack points for every monster your opponent controls, which gives it a nice starting cap of 6,000, but you'll probably never see that number.
True.
Since your opponent can directly manipulate Shunoro's stats with their own cards,
and it doesn't have anything in terms of protection,
battle, even when it gains stats. And since Orichalcos Shunoros has no innate protection against card effects, it probably won't even survive to see a battle phase anyway. It also
Wait,
can't be normal
face-up
summoned or set.
level.
If a normal monster you control is destroyed by battle, Orichalcos Shinoros can special summon itself from your hand, which is nice, I guess, but not
Yeah, it's
really
like a
worth it.
phantasmal
While it's on the
spiral
field,
card,
Shinoros does
almost.
extend protection against destruction by card effects to all face-up level 4 normal monsters. Again, that's not necessarily bad, but if you're turboing out level 4 normals, it's probably so that you can overlay into something with ranks instead of levels. The third and final Orichalcos card that's part of the TCG, as of script writing, is Divine Serpent Geth. This is a level 12 Dark Reptile released in 2018 set Cybernetic Horizon, and like the Orichalcos Shinoros, also has question mark attack and 0 defense. Thankfully, there's a little more going on with this card than the previous one. It can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned by its own effect, which happens after a monster controls destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect. Once these conditions are met, you can pay half your life points to bring Geth out from your hand. On field, Divine Serpent Geth cannot be targeted by card effects, and it negates an opponent's monster for the extended the damage step on attack declaration, while also having that monster's attack. Additionally, Divine Serpent Geth can make its own attack equal to the highest original attack value on the field during damage calculation. So yeah, Divine Serpent Geth can attack over almost anything, and is totally generic. Its power level isn't really up to snuff for 2018 standards though, but compared to Orichalcos Shinoros, this card is great. You probably won't see much of it at top tables, but for casual play and limited card pools, Divine Serpent Geth is totally fine and fun. What the three Orichalcos cards really failed to do is capture the essence they had in the Duel Monsters anime. There are tons of posts and threads and videos lamenting the fact that these high-profile nostalgia cards have very little application. It'd be unfair to call these cards competitive failures because they were never really a contender for competitive success. What players really wanted from these cards was just vibes. And the Seal of Orichalcos, Orichalcos Shinoros, and Divine Serpent Geth didn't really deliver. It's a softer brand of failure, but thankfully the situation isn't without hope. Konami loves revitalizing old anime archetypes because they love money. And yeah, the Seal of Orichalcos is probably on schedule somewhere to receive the Yubel Ishizu Fairy Arcana Force treatment. If that happens before the release of this video, make sure to leave a comment in the video and let us know. But what is the Seal of Orichalcos? What nameless qualities are people after when they post threads like, how can I run the Seal of Orichalcos and it be kind of good or at least okay? To that end, I'm going to define a few characteristics that a paper Orichalcos archetype should aim to evoke to become an adequate successor to its anime legacy. First, splashability. Quite a few duelists use the Seal of Orichalcos over the course of the Wake in the Dragons arc. Gurimo, Alistair, Valon, Raphael, Yugi, Weevil, Rex, Mai, and Darts, to go ahead and just name them all. While the Orichalcos card pool is bigger in the anime than the TCG, only Darts ran a dedicated Orichalcos deck. Everyone else to use this sinister field spell had their own archetypes and strategies, from Myphael's Guardians to Mai's Harpies to Valen's weird armor stuff.
I wouldn't exactly say strategies, more so they just had the field spell.
An ideal print Orichalcos archetype should be relatively easy to slot into other strategies.
I think the best idea is to basically make like the other two Seal of Orichalcos cards, Deuteros and Trimedia or something. Again, I don't remember the name. It eludes me. But yeah, I think those other two could be a nice addition because they are field spells. They can have like destruction protection or stuff like that, or even banishing protection for the lulz. In addition to that, I mean, honestly, that's Darts' pure version of the Seal of Orichalcos. I think the best way would be to have like some different variation of this field spell. You know what? Let's try to find it, if I can remember it correctly. Seal of Orichalcos card. Let's hope I can find it. Ah, there it is. This one is a weird UD print of the Seal of Orichalcos. This one is nuts, in terms of its effects at least. Just open the image. Oh, well, I guess we'll... So, don't show my name, fucking piece of shit. So, as you can see, the spell card is impervious to negation, destruction, and removal. Quite the absolutely busted protection, but honestly, kind of awesome. It increases the attack power of all monsters by 500. You control a back row of monsters that cannot be attacked while a monster is in the front row. So it basically turns the spell trap card zone into a monster spell trap monster zone, which I think is pretty unique. One of the most busted things about this card is the quote unquote Ash Blossom ability, being, of course, send this card from your hand to the graveyard to negate and destroy any card. Literally an Ash Blossom, but with no restrictions. Just any effect that is activated, I discard this copy, negate. Absolutely ludicrous. And best of all, just necessary dissolve. Whichever duelist loses this duel is forfeited to the winner. Just for that extra lols. I owed your soul. Who was the guy from Mortal Kombat who goes, "Your soul is mine." But yeah, I think like a second rendition of the Seal of Orichalcos with at least not as busted effects like these, but similar would be nice. The whole using it like Ash Blossom seems very interesting. A field spell that is just a hand trap. I mean, we already have infinite impermanence and other traps that just you can activate from the hand. Why not have a field spell? It's not far off from the quote unquote ridiculous shit we see in this game. The 500 attack I still think is cool, but I think the best one is the back row edition, because it does open up the idea of having combo plays. Like you've never had enough monster zones, and you usually use the extra monster zones sometimes for that more additional extra deck monster. And now you have an entire back row that you can use for that, which I think is even crazier. Like, imagine, that spell from the anime that had like the 3 arrows for Link monsters to go to? Well, this is basically that. The Link monsters can now be summoned in the spell and trap zone as monsters, not even continuous spells and trash. They're just monsters there. You can use the spell and trap card zones to put your Link monsters there. Quite the crazy rendition, huh? Either way, though, well, I don't have any other additions to this, but I do think this is one thing that I think the Seal of Orichalcos cards should be striving for. A different rendition of the Seal of Orichalcos. Oh, there we go. Tritos. So, Deuteros and Tritos. Someone even went out of their way to make a Quattros and Pentos. What the hell? Etsy. I never knew that was an Etsy card. Alright, let's see this rendition. The spell card activation cannot be negated, it cannot be destroyed or banished. I mean, sure, I guess. Back rows, send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Yeah, it's pretty much a copy paste of the first of that other card. What about Deuteros? Face up Orichalcos, send it from your side of the field to the graveyard. During the same turn, you activate the Seal of Orichalcos. Okay. This card's name is also treated as Seal of Orichalcos. Gains the previous effect. Gain 500 life points for each monster you control. You contribute one monster to destroy the attacking monster. A bit overpowered. Nah, it's good. Tritos. This one is the one I remember being the most busted. Okay, you can activate this card during the same turn you activate Deuteros. So this face of cards on the field. This card names Seal of Orichalcos. It gains the effects of Seal of Orichalcos and Orichalcos Deuteros. The monster you control will be affected by the effects of an opponent's spell or trap card. You can negate the effect and destroy that card. Just straight up spell speed for counter trap negation. You try to solemn judgment my fucking normal summon? Guess again, bitch. But yeah, these are the ones I remembered the most. They did in fact inherit their effects from the show, as far as I remember, from Darts' rendition of these cards. But I don't remember about other... Oh, fuck. I don't want to buy them, god damn it. Quattros. What the hell is this? Same thing, same as the first. While face up on the field, this card's name is also treated as its effect. Once per turn, while one of your opponent's monsters activates its effects, you can get destroyed. Then summon it to your side of the field and face up defense position. The monster cannot be distributed as synchro summon. What the hell? That's even more busted than Tritos and Deuteros. What? I mean, technically speaking, this is just a random addition from someone's quote unquote Etsy purchase bar, but still, what the hell? All right, Pentos again, same as the first. Once per turn, you can special summon one monster from your graveyard. Summoning conditions are ignored. Huh. All right. Interesting. So basically, a negation for monster. Yank that monster, but it can't be tributed or used for special synchro summoning. Or the use of a synchro summon. I think Deuteros and Tritos are good enough. You don't need Quadros and Pentos. But yeah, something like this would be interesting to have. A newer edition or renditions of the Seal of Orichalcos. Like you have to banish the original from the deck and use this new version from like the field or something like that, while inheriting the protection effects from like the old one. I think that's a nice trade. Oh my god. Sweet merciful Lord, someone's really going ham on the Seal of Orichalcos. Calm down, boys. It's just one card. Even Darth didn't go so hard as to go for a fucking Heptos. A fucking Heptos. The Silver Calcus symbol is barely even visible on that fucking thing. God damn. Anyways, ooh, that looks fancy. Limited edition. Man, if I could get like a version of this IRL, I mean, I can still print it out, having the real thing. Man, if only. Advanced Orichalcos. Hey, see, someone actually had the same idea. From deck to the graveyard. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects, and its effects cannot be negated. All monsters you control gain 1,000 attack and defense times the number of cards in your hand. Like a Slifer effect? That's a bit too overpowered. Just having one card gives them 1,000 attack. At least let it be 500. Not even like that that version of the Queen's Knight that is similar to Slifer had the 1,000 attack increase from the hand, but it did go out of its way to count for both players' hands. So, I mean, just one card already increases all your monsters by 1,000. If you have a floodgate, it's basically going to be like at 2,000 stats. Having more than one card would be at 3,000 plus. Sheesh. A bit busted, don't you think? Anyways, the other thing, all monsters you control, the other are dead. Once per turn, you can special summon one monster from your hand or deck, ignoring summoning conditions and gain life points equal to the number of spell traps you control. Ah, yes, more bullshit. Why from the deck, and why ignoring its summoning conditions? That's like super overpowered. Like, chill, man. I think overall, I think the quote unquote first part is a nice addition. The whole 1,000 attack increase is a bit too much. Like, too much. Lower it to 500. As for the third effect, just, I guess remove the ignoring its summoning conditions, because that is too overpowered. Like, imagine summoning, like, Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon, an Omni Negate with a burn effect attached to it. A bit overpowered, huh? Don't you think? Yeah, this is a deviant art. Now, what am I saying? I'm also a DeviantArt artist. God damn it. Yeah. But yes, something on this rendition in the sorts. Still having to use the original, but using it as a cost while getting new effects. Could be a nice, change of pace. You can have it still be Deuteros, and then you can activate Tritos from like the hand by sending a Deuteros that is face up on your field. Something like that. Ooh, he's got more to say about Seal of Orichalcos, though.
Something the actual Seal of Orichalcos card totally goes against with its extra deck restrictions and special summon self-nuke. Next up, Overwhelming. We're going to explore how the Seal of Orichalcos worked in the anime a little later in the video, but two of its most important distinctions are the attack boost and also that it lets you summon twice as many monsters. In the anime, the spell trap card zones became optional monster zones, allowing followers of the Orichalcos to field a truly bonkers amount of bodies, and all of them with a nice stat boost. This was a big part of what made the Seal of Orichalcos threatening, and there's no need to be kind here, total flops like Weevil Underwood and Gurimo make the king of games sweat. Finally, the Orichalcos is sinister. And yeah, that impression probably mostly comes from soul-stealing capabilities that are difficult to translate into the real-life card game, but that doesn't change the fact that just having evil vibes is important to a faithful Orichalcos adaptation. And now that we've locked down some key characteristics of Orichalcos, it's time to explore the Orichalcos cards of the anime that haven't yet
send you to the Shadow Realm
or the TCG. And while we're at it, I'll also speculate a little about how these cards could be implemented to get our current Orichalcos game back on track. We'll start with the big one again. The Seal of Orichalcos is way different in the Duel Monsters anime. Both versions of the cards increase the attack of your monsters by 500 points. Both versions have protection against destruction by card effect, although the anime Seal has a blanket immunity rather than a one-off shield. Finally, the controller of the anime Seal of Orichalcos can summon monsters to their spell/trap zones, with monsters in the back row unable to be designated as attack targets while the other monsters occupy the main monster zones. Users of the Seal of Orichalcos can also shift their monsters between the spell trap card zones during their main phase. Also, if you lose the duel while the Seal of Orichalcos is in play, your soul gets eaten by a giant space snake. The TCG interpretation of the Seal of Orichalcos does take inspiration from the anime effects, even if its weakest monster battle protection is a pale imitation of the anime Seal spell/trap zone transformation. Also worth mentioning, after Yami-Yugi used the Seal of Orichalcos, he damaged his relationship with the legendary dragon Timaeus, causing the Orichalcos to find dragons to destroy.
Don't tell me he's gonna actually
Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight and refusing to fuse with Weevil's gifted Poison Butterfly. This is what inspired the TCG Seal of Orichalcos anti-synergy with special summoning, and the extra deck in particular. Orichalcos Deuteros is an upgraded form of the Seal of Orichalcos that can only be played while you control the Seal of Orichalcos. It replaces your active field spell and is treated as the Seal of Orichalcos while it's on the field. The effects of Orichalcos Deuteros are defensive and additive. Once per turn, it has an ignition effect to have you gain 500 life points times the number of monsters you control. This might not seem like the biggest deal, but remember that the effects of the anime Seal of Orichalcos increases the ceiling for how many points you can gain using the Deuteros effect. If all 10 zones are occupied, that's plus 5,000 life points every turn. Next, Orichalcos Deuteros lets you tribute a monster you control to negate an opponent's attack and destroy their monster. Orichalcos Tritos is similar to Deuteros, in that it's another Orichalcos field.
Again, though, these are like darts exclusive, and he was, as he stated, used the pure variation of the Seal of Orichalcos. So it's like, we want to have it, so he says he wants it to be like an engine, so that means we have to have the Seal of Orichalcos as its separate card. It has certain cards that work with it, that are essentially like an engine similar to Fiendsmith. Ugh. And on the other hand, we can have the pure variation that you could play like darts. Technically speaking, there was that Seal of Orichalcos soldier that used the variation of Darts' deck, only with one monster in the Seal of Orichalcos.
Spell that lets you place on top of an existing Orichalcos seal. Tritos can only be placed on an existing field spell with the original name Orichalcos Deuteros, meaning that you'll first have to replace the Seal of Orichalcos, and then Orichalcos Deuteros, and then Orichalcos Tritos to enjoy the benefits of the final Orichalcos incarnation. But don't worry, it's worth the effort. Orichalcos Tritos gives you the option to negate and destroy any spell or trap card that would affect your monsters. The Orichalcos evolutions offer an easy route to improving the Seal of Orichalcos in the TCG. Even with no changes made to the existing Seal of Orichalcos, Deuteros and Tritos defensive effects increase the sales pitch for using Seal in a generic deck, or even as an inclusion in an extra deck independent archetype that may already have their own field spell. Orichalcos Kutora is a level 3 light rock monster with 500 attack and defense. You can normal summon it, but you can also pay 500 life points to special summon it from your hand. It has the totally wild effect of zeroing out all damage that would be inflicted in battle by monsters or by monster effects. Finally, when Orichalcos Kutora is destroyed, it can float into an Orichalcos Shunoros from your deck. If this card were ever adapted to the TCG, it would likely need some changes. It has no innate protections, so maybe it wouldn't be too broken, but the damage negation is a crazy passive on a card with no restrictions that also doesn't require a normal summon. Of course, adding some stipulations that make Kutora only work in combination with the Seal of Orichalcos would probably resolve any issues while buffing the seal. And there's even a TCG synergy here to talk about. By special summoning Orichalcos Kutora, you can pop it by activating the Seal of Orichalcos, offering a direct route into Orichalcos Shunoros, which is nifty but not super useful as
I think it would be like the equivalent of what was that card that gave like a monster when it summoned its stats? Let me just Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there was that one card that gives you like let's see, down 1,000. Not exactly that. Let me just see it back in the kind of like the equivalent of quote unquote Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere mode. I think that'll be like it. It'll be like a reference to that. It'll basically have like when it's destroyed or when it leaves the field, special summon one Orichalcos Kutora, Shunoros that is, and then basically it bestows it like, but instead of having then make its attack and like defense 10,000 or 20,000 like in the show. Doesn't seem far off to imagine it actually being like that. In fact, if anything, I'd be glad if it did happen like that.
As we've covered, Orichalcos Shunoros is pretty bad. Good thing its cartoon card is totally different. In the anime, Orichalcos Shunoros can only be special summoned by the effect of Orichalcos Kutora, with original attack becoming equal to the total amount of battle damage reduced by that copy of Orichalcos Kutora that summoned it. After damage calculation, anime Orichalcos Shunoros loses attack equal to the highest stat of the monster at battle. And when anime Shunoros is destroyed while its attack is 0, you can discard your entire hand to summon Divine Serpent Gea from your deck. This also works well with the Seal of Orichalcos TCG on Summon Self-Board Clear, because if you use that to clear your freshly summoned Orichalcos Kutora, you'll have an instant 0 attack Orichalcos Shunoros primed to cheat out Divine Serpent Gea. Orichalcos Aristeros is a level 4 monster of as defined type and attribute. It has 0 attack, defense, and cannot be normal summoned, set, or special summoned, except by the effect of Orichalcos Shunoros. It also cannot be destroyed while you control an Orichalcos Shunoros, and redirects all attacks to itself. On attack declaration, Orichalcos Aristeros gains defense equal to the attacking monster's attack, plus 300. After damage calculation, an Orichalcos Shunoros you control loses attack equal to Aristeros' defense during the damage step. Like Aristeros, Orichalcos Dexia is a level 4 monster that has been assigned neither typing nor attribute. Also like Aristeros, it can't be normal summoned or set, except by the effect of Orichalcos Shunoros. This is because Orichalcos Aristeros and Orichalcos Dexia are the arms of Orichalcos Shunoros, explaining the mechanisms of their special summon. Once Anime Shunoros hits the field, its arms detach. As a result, they'll probably have the same dark attribute and machine typing as Shunoros if they ever get printed. Dexia is the inverse of Aristeros with a question mark attack and 0 defense. When Dexia attacks, it temporarily gains attack equal to the attack position monster's attack or defense position monster's defense plus 300. After damage calculation, an Orichalcos Shunoros you control loses attack equal to Dexia's attack during damage step. Dexia and Aristeros are kinda similar to Orichalcos Dueteros and Tritos, in that they offer an easy way of adjusting the deficient power level of an existing Orichalcos card. By giving them an inherent ability to special summon themselves from hand or deck while you control Orichalcos Shunoros, they can hit the field easily. If Qtora's effect to float into Shunoros also modifies the resulting Shunoros' attack, then Aristeros and Dexia can also help TCG Shunoros evoke the essence of its anime counterpart by including a path into Divine Serpent Ga as part of their effects. Mirror Knight Calling is a level 6 ritual monster with 0 attack and defense. Like Aristeros and Dexia, its typing and attribute are unspecified. After bringing it out with the Orichalcos Mirror Ritual spell, Mirror Knight Calling calls 4 tokens to join it on your field. These mirror tokens are level 1 Dark Warriors that have 0 attack and defense, but they also each get a...
I will say, this card is absolutely busted, especially if you created it nowadays, because the tokens can be used for like link climbing. You know, like for example, how they used Scapegoat, but instead of like Scapegoat where you have like 4 normal monster tokens, they have counters, and first of all, you actually get 5 monsters as opposed to 4. You can use for link materials. Like, it's crazy to think about it like that. But what the hell? That's not. There we go.
Mirror Ritual spell. Mirror Knight Calling calls 4 tokens to join it on your field. These mirror tokens are level 1 Dark Warriors that have 0 attack and defense, but they also each get a shield counter. During the damage step, a Mirror Knight token with a shield counter gains attack equal to an opponent.
I don't like the fact that it doesn't cover if they're treated as normal monsters or not. But let's assume they still are. It's still 5 monsters you get on the field plus 4 tokens, like instant link climbing. Like a Cyber's deck would basically instantly get to that Cyber's head code monster with ease. You use the tokens, get Link Spider, keep climbing, and you're done. It's like so fast and bizarre, all things considered. But aside from that, I don't think anyone else would be using it. So, this ritual monster won't have that many things to do. And even though the whole redirecting attack and everything for protection on the tokens is just stupid when you consider the fact that I think the monster is needed for that effect to be applied. So if you get rid of the monster, no, I think it's still active even though, I mean, it's unique. I'll give it that. But more than that, aside from link climbing, like I said, no one's going to use it. It's just stupid.
Monster's attack. So yeah, the 500 point stat boost from Seal of Orichalcos can make these tokens pretty dangerous. If a Mirror Knight token would be destroyed, you can remove its shield counter instead. And once per turn, Mirror Knight Calling can activate an ignition effect to add a shield counter to every Mirror Knight token without one. While Mirror Knight Calling itself doesn't have any protection, the anime effect of the Seal of Orichalcos supports it in 2 key ways. First, it opens up more monster zones for your 4 Mirror Knight tokens, and second, lets you play your Mirror Knight Calling to the spell and trap card zone to keep it protected from enemy attacks. Unfortunately, this wouldn't translate cleanly to the TCG, since the paper Seal of Orichalcos effect only protects your weakest monsters from targeting. Because Mirror Knight Calling and your Mirror Knight tokens all have the same base attack as 0, these tokens won't be able to be protected by Mirror Knight Calling without adding some extra effects. There's still the matter of the zones. If Mirror Knight Calling has to summon exactly 4 tokens or it fizzles, it'll be hard to use. But there's actually an opportunity here. Opening up the spell and trap card zones for generic use with every monster would probably be busted. But what if the Mirror Knight Calling has the option of summoning itself and the Mirror Knight tokens exclusively to the spell and trap card zones, while the Seal of Orichalcos is on the field? This could really add to the archetype's core overwhelmingness without totally breaking the game. And with the Seal of Orichalcos lock in your extra deck, players wouldn't immediately be able to trade their Mirror Knight tokens for
yeah.
We do have a few more Orichalcos main deck
I mean,
monsters to work
separately
through,
from the
and
Seal of
we'll start with
Orichalcos, it's
Orichalcos
still
Gigas.
busted.
This currently typeless, attribute-less, level 4 monster has 400 attack and 1500 defense.
Huh. It really is typeless and attributeless. That's crazy.
When it's destroyed, you can immediately special summon it. After returning to the field this way, Orichalcos Gigas can't attack for the rest of the turn. This is important because Orichalcos Gigas gains 500 attack every time it's been revived by its own effect for the extent of the duel. If it didn't also gain Summoning Sickness on self-revival, you could just crash Orichalcos Gigas infinitely into your opponent to climb over almost any monster. That's not Mech Knight Crusader Avermax. Reviving Gigas also skips your next draw phase. Number 60, Dugaris the Timeless Synergy.
Didn't know that.
There's not much more to really say about this card, but its persistent floating effect could contribute to an Orichalcos archetype's overwhelmingness. Like Gigas, Orichalcos Malevolence is a level 4 monster with no type or attribute.
Oh yeah, that
It
thing.
has 1500 attack, 1000 defense, and once per turn ignition effect to switch an opponent's defending monster into attack position. And that's it. There's not really a lot going on here. But that empty space does give card designers some flexibility to pen new effects to help adapt Orichalcos cards to the TCG. Maybe Malevolence becomes the discard field searcher. Orichalcos Sword of Seal.
You know what? That wouldn't surprise me.
Only activate by discarding a card you've drawn this turn. All it does is negate the effects of the equipped monster, and that's it. So yeah, like Malevolence, Orichalcos Sword of Sealing is kind of a design space wild card, and that it can become whatever this hypothetical TCG archetype needs to function. Maybe
Honestly, that would be cool to have like equip spells that work with the field spell. Kind of like how you can use this on other monsters, but if you have the Seal of Orichalcos, you can like say rip out an extra deck monster from your opponent and summon it to your field. That'd be kind of busted, but it'd be fun too.
it could add to the archetype's overwhelming nature by granting your monsters additional effects. Maybe it can elevate the Orichalcos' sinister qualities by equipping it to an opponent's monster, and
Or just use something from their graveyard like Dragon Nails does. You know, that actually would be cool. An effect similar to Dragon Nails, you equip it to a monster and it gets its effect and everything else. And when you destroy it, it gets its effect. Summons a monster, equips itself to that monster to be destroyed, and it's on your field. It has like a different effect, maybe, or just negated. So, a lot of space to work with again.
turning it into a liability. Darts also has a few cards that don't have Orichalcos as part of their name. Twin Bow Centaur is a continuous spell that comes with the restriction of locking you out of declaring attacks on the turn you activate its effect. The other half of this exchange is that you can target a monster you control and controls and then flip a coin. If you call the flip correctly, you can banish your opponent's monster, burning them for its original attack. Call it wrong, and you'll have to banish your own and take burn damage equal to its original attack. Not really a lot to do with the Seal of Orichalcos here, but why not print it with the rest of the Darts cards? And while
The
we're
art
at
is
it, let's
awesome.
throw in Impact Revive,
Doubtful.
another Darts normal spell that doesn't specifically reference the Orichalcos. This spell can only be activated near the main phase 2, and special summons a monster destroyed by battle that turn from either graveyard to its owner's side of the field, increasing its attack by 500 points.
Did he
Then
get a
you
second battle phase?
This card seems a little
Okay, no. If this card is generic as fuck without using the Seal of Orichalcos, it's literally 10 pie support. Second battle phase? That is crazy.
crazy. And if made so that it works specifically with the Seal of Orichalcos, it could really add to the overwhelmingness and sinisterness of the archetype. Martyr Curse is a normal trap that activates in response to the destruction of one of your monsters. You can immediately force one of your monsters to do battle with an opponent's monster while preventing your opponent from activating monster effects. It's kind of nutty. The TCG version of this trap enabled combat outside the battle phase, so we can probably expect activation restrictions, or a further effect forcing the battle phase to begin. Synergies with Yubel might necessitate tethering this card to the Seal of Orichalcos as well. And for the final Orichalcos anime,
I mean, if anything, these cards just basically say, fuck you. honestly, the fact that they're not Orichalcos exclusive cards means that if they are ever printed, they would be ridiculous. Like the amount of abuse people would use to those things would be the amount of abuse someone's stepdad does to them. No, more so the fact that like it'll be so overpowered, it'll get banned. Pretty much.
Card, we're back to Divine Serpent Get. The anime version of this card is a little different. It can only be special summoned after the destruction of an Orichalcos Shudnoros you control with 0 attack. And it has infinity attack and defense. Not whatever your opponent has plus a little, but actually infinity. Its summon cannot be negated,
True.
and as long
That
as
is
the
the thing that
Serpent
the
Get
thing
remains on
has.
the field, you cannot lose the duel.
It literally
regardless
has
of
it on the
conditions.
text too.
Life points don't matter, Exodia doesn't matter, it's all Snake all day. To declare an attack, Enemy Get requires you to send the top 10 cards of your deck to the graveyard, which is expensive, but who cares? If Get inflicts any battle damage, you win. And even if you run out of cards, you can't lose. You'll just be stranded with your frozen Get plus whatever's in your hand. Of course, as dangerous as Anime Divine Serpent Get is, it's also pretty fragile. It has no
Glass cannon
protections against destruction, banishment, bouncing, booking, attaching, tributing, or spinning. This snake is big during the battle phase, but a very glassy cannon. And that covers the Orichalcos cards from the anime. Maybe we'll see some of them in the TCG someday, and maybe they'll fix the IRL Seal of Orichalcos, which has left a lot to be desired. And we'll also get into some quick trivia about the Orichalcos cards before totally finishing the video, because it's kind of cool. There was actually another physical version of the Seal of Orichalcos. As part of a special event, 15 promotional copies of the Seal of Orichalcos were printed for use by the employees of Upper Deck Entertainment. This copy of the seal implemented the protection monsters in the spell and trap card zone as part of the anime Orichalcos' effect. Additionally, this seal can't be negated, destroyed, or removed in any way. It increases the attack points of friendly monsters by 500 points, and also had a hand effect where you could send spare copies of the Seal of Orichalcos to the graveyard to negate and destroy any card. Finally, these promotional cards applied soul anti-terms to the duel, where the loser forfeited their soul to the winner. These copies of the Seal of Orichalcos are not legal to play, but it's cool that they're out there. Now, let's take things back to the anime Orichalcos field spells, the Seal of Orichalcos, Orichalcos Dueteros, and Orichalcos Tritos. Though they have anime effects, their visible text from the anime is all flavor. Each card contains a short poem written in the Orichalcos script. The Seal of Orichalcos bears the text, "If thou wouldst seek our power, a great power dwells within thyself. It shall dwell within, offer unto us a sacrifice, and we shall be resurrected." The Orichalcos Dueteros poem reads, "The seal can be activated when there is a matching Orichalc. You can strengthen the seal and use it. You can also recover life force. The seal is unaffected by the attacks of the Unforgiven." Orichalcos Tritos has a poem too, but because the card's only front-facing appearance in the anime isn't high enough resolution, we don't actually know what this card says. When Konami finally gets around to printing the Orichalcos cards, which they will eventually, because let's face it, there's probably a button that says break glass in case of this emergency with the Seal of Orichalcos in it right next to another glass case that says the Blue Eyes White Dragon. The Orichalcos poem cards could...
I mean, are you surprised about Blue Eyes? Konami is basically Kaiba Corp in disguise.
make hold fill centers or tokens or something. The interior shape of the Seal of Orichalcos is the unicursal hexagram, a 6-pointed star that can be drawn in a single stroke without lifting the pen. In the philosophy of the 18th and 19th century occultist Aleister Crowley, the hexagram is a symbol of heavenly forces. Although Konami will tell you the shape of the Orichalcos is simply a non-specific double chevron pattern, Darts' anime henchman Aleister was named after Aleister Crowley. And this wouldn't be Mr. Crowley's only major appearance in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pop culture. Just look at Aleister the Invoker. The unicursal hexagram's cosmic alignment is further supported by the incorporation of Enochian script. 16th century English occultists John Dee and Edward Kelly claimed that
When did this become a history lesson?
And that they had received sacred knowledge of the script from angelic beings. According to esoteric tradition, Enoch, who never died but was instead taken to heaven
Enoch?
directly, was the last human to speak Celestial, and the language was named out of deference to him. Anyways, the Enochian script is the outer rim of the Orichalcos seal, which just says Orichalcos twice. There are actually 3 more cards adjacent to the Orichalcos. Metaphos Orichalc, which shares its name, and the Art of the Continuous Spell, Field Barrier, appears to contain the Seal of Orichalcos card inside of it. Although
Really?
Metaphos Orichalc is unrelated to the Orichalcos, both are named after Orichalcum, also known as brass, a composite metal made of copper and zinc. According to myth, this was the primary building materials used in development of the city of Atlantis. Finally, we have Time Eater, a level 6 dark machine from the 2003 set Pharaonic Guardian. This monster is 1900 attack and 1700 defense, and after it inflicts battle damage, it forces your opponents to get their next main phase 1, causing them to proceed directly to the standby phase during their next turn. While this card doesn't explicitly have anything to do with the Seal of Orichalcos, Darts does play it, and using the 6 tribute requirement for the ritual summon of Mirror Knight Calling. It shares attributed typing with Orichalcos Shunoros and could potentially synergize with Orichalcos Malevolence, Impact Revive, and Martyr Curse. So we've got the bare bones of a battle control strategy.
Should be kind of funny to have that.
And that's about it for this not really an archetype. Hopefully we'll get more because there's a lot to work with, including anime exclusives and also consumer interests. Who you gotta sell your soul to get a good Orichalcos card around here?